Hey viewers, we're having some Speedo issues, big time. The screen's busted out completely, and it happened in about 5 minutes. It just had a small split here. Well, it was initially around here when you turn it all out. It split out there off that bottom screw there, and then within 5 minutes it just all busted apart. The other thing it's doing, I don't know whether anybody else has struck this, but it is making a dead set horrible sound when you turn with the Speedo. And it spins out at even at 40 or 50 kilometres an hour. The Speedo is tapping out at 230, 240 kilometres an hour. So there is something seriously wrong. So we shall go through, pull it down and see what's in there. I've got no idea what's in there, but we'll go and have a look. So the first thing that came across my mind is we need to undo all this small pressing around the side of the filter there, but more importantly we have to put it back on again. And I thought, how am I going to do that without messing all this up so it stays nice and tight? The first thing I thought of is we'll drill a hole in a piece of wood, piece of ply, the same thickness as pretty much the edge of that metal there, and just feed it in. It just so happened that it was exactly the right hole to start with, so that when you undo your little clip, your pressings here, the rest of it stays in shape, and when you tap it all back in again, it all stays in shape. So we're going to have a crack at it. First thing I thought of is if we get a screwdriver and we can maybe get an edge lifted, and once we get the edge lifted we can just go around and undo the whole thing. So it might take a few minutes to do that, and then it's just a matter of, then we'll see what's inside it after that. I'll pause it for a bit. Right. Alright, so I ended up moving to a bigger screwdriver just so it was more open, and luckily we have got this hole in it because you can actually see everything flexing, but it's staying inside the metal, inside the wooden hole, without going outside of its dimensions. So we've done that. I'll try and lift that little bit out of there so we can pull it out of the cap. I'm holding it down too as well, holding it down in the hole, so we should be able to, any sort of luck, feed it or pop it, maybe. No, you're not far enough yet. Stretch it a bit more, maybe a few bits away around. It looks like it should. If it doesn't work, it's dead anyway, so we're not losing anything. Shouldn't be anything holding it on, should there? That's where you're supposed to say something. I'm just going to lift your fingers open. Small screwdriver. There you go.
Hey, they're yellow inside. Who'd have thought? Or thunk, as someone said.
One second. Righto. So I don't know what's in there that is going to make that horrible noise. So we might
Give it a rev.
Give it another rev. take all that other rubbish out of it. Really bad poetry, we'll give it a rev. Oh dear.
Ah, yes.
The wonders of live TV.
Yeah, that works.
That works. Chat amongst yourselves for 5 seconds.
And check out the safety footwear as well.
See what happens.
I've got mine on.
Oh, come off.
Holy cow.
Oh, well, it sits that way. Oh, there's a shaft right down the back. Right down at the base near the 3, there's a shaft spinning. Or behind the number 3, right down the back. So that's maybe where the noise is coming from. So we'll take that apart.
Just had to give it a big rev before you turned it off, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear the combustion chambers. Right. So we'll take it and pull them screws there out. We'll take these bulbs off, I suppose. Well, that one can stay there. We'll take this one out.
No, take them all off. That way you can get rid of the...
The wiring.
No, you can't. Anyway, it's alright.
Crikey. Well, that one's blown a little bit. What else is that one in?
That's for your self-cancelling indicators.
Yeah, it should pop out, or is it
No,
stuck?
that's stuck.
Right, so what we need, Phillips head screwdriver. If we lay that flat, is that going to... We can't lay it flat, so don't lay it flat because you'll bend all your other stuff. That's out. Just careful what you grab hold of. How are we going to get that off there? Does that just slide off there or what? I reckon.
That should just pull off the end.
Should slide off the end?
Should.
Should. Ready?
Well, has it got a screw down the guts of it?
It's got a screw down the end of the guts of it. Okay. Right. Righto. So,
No, it isn't.
it goes in here. Oh. Well, that's oiled. Well, that's what turns that. Righto. So, and there's a small spring in the back down there that pulls it back to 0. A small spring in here. Small spring down in there that pulls it back to 0. So, we'll carefully lie that on there. Alright. Back in there. Can you hold that with one hand or what?
Oh, yeah. Dry device.
So it doesn't anything.
Oh, backwards.
Yeah, backwards there. Righto. Yeah. So we need to come in the back here somewhere. what is making the noise is it that thing? You can hold the needle still. That's not, well, maybe it's doing that. So does it need, does it need a squirt of something? Slightly, because there's grease. There's grease on the shaft there, just in here, on the thread that hot drives that. But that looks like it's pretty chewed out too, though, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But it's still like that small spline that's moving there is reasonably still got a fair amount of teeth work on it. So we might just, I don't know, we'll squirt something and see what happens. Shouldn't need to squirt too much. As you can see, it moves. It's moving by itself. So even like I was telling Ev before, coming through town the other day at a steady, let's say 60 kilometres an hour for argument's sake, it'd suddenly just start tapping out at 240. So there must be something. It doesn't sound like that. There must be a magnet. I know there's crap on it. I don't want to damage that. Clean cloth. Righto. So, working things out type of, that doesn't make a sound. It does when you move it backwards and forwards, but that's not really the sound. We've got this, whether it's a magnet or whatever that spinny bit is. So we've spraying stuff around. So we just sprayed a little bit of, so you got the Speedo drive inside the thread. So we just spray a little bit of stuff in there. You don't want too much because you don't know where it's going to go or what it's going to do to any of the gearing or anything. So we hook that back on. There we go. So maybe it's something as simple, and I dare say there's blokes out there that already worked that out. I'm a bit slow. So if you start squealing and carrying on like that, it's a pretty quick fix.
Tip it upside down and give it a squirt.
Or just take your Speedo cable off.
Because just coming up from underneath, I don't think it would go in the right spot.
If that's on the bike, and that's up underneath, and you squeeze it up underneath, so your hands can get it. That's it, sitting on the bike. Maybe it's something as simple as a quick squirt up through the centre there. Maybe enough. So righto, that's the main horrible sound fixed. What do we do with the screen? And how do we get that off? How do we get that off?
You've got to prise the needle off.
You reckon?
And you've got to undo the two screws.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Alright.
And action.
So with a bit of forethought and how we're going to do it, Ev come up with the idea that we'll slide two screwdrivers in underneath, which will give us the biggest area across your plastic, so without damaging anything. and we should be able to just pry it, taking note of where it sits. So we've sort of we've split the number 2, the top of the number 2, and the metal frame. So that's going to be our that's going to be our 0 point, and it's just a matter of feeding. Use the heads of the screws and the screwdrivers and pop it up, and it just pops off. So there you go. Not that hard. So we got some stuff called Rapid Fix. It's just a super glue with some powder, and you run the super glue down the crack first, and then you put a bit of powder over it, and then you drop another bit of glue on top of it again. It comes up a bit high, but you can it shows real well. Really get a profile. It's just a matter of where the holes are. We can file that down with a Dremel around where it sits on the high spots on here, and if it's going to catch on anything else, we can just slightly grind it, because you can drill and tap this stuff. So we're just doing that, go through, and we've just got one more piece to do, and just got to put that on there then. But yeah, and that'll have solved the backing. And for a bit extra support, we're going to try this, is just get some of the hard plastic that, like these sort of things come out of. We're just going to cut the top out of that and use that as a backing against that to stop it cracking again. Glue it down maybe, and yeah, just a bit more support and strength for the back of it. So we've got it back together again. You can see the cracks across the front of it, but we can't really do anything with that. But it's all set down, so we're just going to grind the parts where, like we were saying before, that sit on the flat eye spots there. We'll just grind them down around the holes, grind them flat, and we should be right. But I don't know whether we'll worry about that other glue, because that's come up pretty tight. So we'll just grind it all down, and we'll just see how it looks when we're finished. Whatever the turner on bit is. Don't worry about giving this stuff a hard time, this Rapid Fix, because you can drill and tap this stuff, so they tell you. So yeah, look at that, beautiful, beautiful. Alright, so it's just a matter of going through, I'd imagine, and put the old girl back together again. So how we had trouble pulling this off to start with, we're going to have to actually pull this, square these up, because it's still sitting on still in, so we're going to have to roll these out so that we can do that on here though without knocking the edge of the shape of the bell around. Just pull that out. We won't have to go all the way around, we'll have to go a fair way, but just a matter of pulling that out that little bit extra. Until we can trial and error on the bits where it's not. There we go. So that's on there. Righto. So we've put a bit of mind thought to it. Like we were saying at the very end of it, we can't bash it. The needle's going to come off. So what we need to be able to do is we need to grab hold of this, pretty much exactly this. Grab hold of that, push that, and roll it over. But how do you do that without damaging the fine chrome surface? Maybe not such a fine chrome, but the surface that's fine without marking it. Pair of pliers, needle nose to start with, and a bit of garden hose. It's got the garden hose over it so it protects even to the point that it protects the bottom of the end of the needle. So that the garden hose goes against your chroming your rim, and it's just a matter of, as you close you roll them together. And just do that. It's going to take a fair bit longer, but at least it'll squeeze the rubber ring. Whether we can do it in the light, maybe. It'll squeeze the rubber ring up against the screen, the glass screen, so it'll seal it, and it's just a matter of going around. But if this works, it's just saved you however many dollars to get another one, and you've had a bit of fun at the same time, giving yourself a heart attack, blood pressure's gone through the roof, you've had a mate laughing at you all afternoon, which is always handy to have. So good couple of hours has had been bad by all. So it's just a matter of probably grabbing the bull nose without chucking it away too far, and maybe doing the same thing, just roll it around. Just grab a hold of it if you can. Or you even put it in against the edge of your stomach there or something, and just roll it over.
Tonight. So pretty much, end result, you haven't marked any of that from there. That's still A1 condition. Across the top, you know, and you've pretty much got it back to a shop finish as it came off the bike originally a couple of hours ago. So there you have it. Speedo. What the hell's wrong with it? What the hell's making the noise? Pull it apart, find it, fix it, put it back together again. Job's done. Righto. Several weeks have gone past. Just doing a what I'd do if I was to do it again. Before you were to take it off the bike, get an electric drill. Doesn't matter what sort. Hook it on. Put the end of the Speedo drive in the chuck. I've taken this out for a little bit later, but jam that in the chuck and spin your Speedo up, and that'll give you a speed depending on the drill. It won't really matter, but it'll give you a base to work on when you put it all back together. From here, I will recommend you do not take that off there if you don't have to. It has taken a lot of mucking around to get it back to reading right. The initial start of the job was that horrible squeal that we were getting. So if you bring it into the light, the inside of the drive where your Speedo goes into, or whether you can really see that, there you go. So the internal is spinning, and you can just hear that,
and you may be able to hear that. We'll check, but that's where the squeal's coming from. So your internal drive must be catching on this outer casting. So a little bit of CRC or inox, or maybe even a drop of engine oil on the side there, and then just work it back in. Because what obviously we're finding out since we've pulled all this down, if we go back onto the Speedo gearing and everything in here, what we're finding, so your Speedo goes down the bottom, down, comes up through here. This magnet, this piece here, is a magnet drive. So it's just a piece of magnet, the bit that's spinning there now. So if you spin it fast enough, you can actually, there must be another magnet piece up in this little tin bell that it picks up and it spins, and then it goes through a little tiny brass spring in there, which is what your Speedo's hooked to get the tension to where you need to go. So that's pretty much how it works inside. If you have to take, like how our screen had all busted and smashed, we had to take the needle off to get to that plate. So there was no way getting around it. But if you don't have to take that needle off, do not take it off. When you're putting it back together again, put your Speedo in it, put your drill up it, and it'll spin. Like ours is reading, we've checked it against 2 or 3 other Speedos, and it reads 120 kilometers an hour. So if we put it together, and for argument's sake it sits at 140 kilometers an hour, with your drill spinning, so you may need someone else to give you a hand to hold the drill on, just put your finger against that. Because it's only a magnetic field driving where your fingers, you can still have your Speedo spinning and nothing's going to happen. Then you can just move your needle back to wherever it needs to, let it go, and the drill will it'll just pick up your magnetic speed, and you can adjust it that way. I just accidentally let that go. We've worked out if you let that go, when this stops, it's like anything inside, when something stops, this keeps going, so that's probably out wrong again. But that's the easiest way to do it, is just when you spin it up, get it to wherever you need it to spin, to where it spins, and then bring it back to your speed or forward to your speed, whatever. Then let that go with the drill spinning, and then that's the easiest way to recalibrate it, we found. So, yeah, if you don't need to take that needle off, do not take the needle off. It has been a drama. So, but for your death squeal, like I say, simple bit of inox, bit of lubrication, job's done.
Photo.
Because you've got to tap it onto video.
I didn't touch the screen.
It's already
is
going.
There another button?
It's going.
Oh, is
Oh, God, love a duck. Turn it off.